If you're traveling to Thailand in 2026, there are some big changes that you need to be aware of. Miss these and you could find yourself paying unexpected fees, missing out on exciting new travel experiences, or even landing in trouble you didn't see coming. I'm Jack. I've lived in Thailand for over 6 years and I help travelers like you explore this country the right way. And in this video, I'll break down the major changes to Thailand travel in 2025, as well as the upcoming changes and events you need to be aware of when planning a trip in 2026. You can expect to find out the best and worst times to visit in 2026, important new rules for tourist visas, what a trip actually costs these days, and brand new travel experiences that are opening up next year. And if you're looking for a plan to put all this together, you can download my free Thailand itinerary with day-to-day breakdowns to help you plan the perfect trip. Download from the link below. Okay, so first let's talk visas, because this is the part that's changed the most in 2025 and it could easily catch you out in 2026. Miss this and you could be stuck at immigration for hours or even turned away at the airport. First up, as of May 1st, 2025, there was a major change that affected all visitors to Thailand. Previously, when flying into Thailand, you would have been handed an arrival card slip that you would have to fill out on the plane. A few years ago, they got rid of these slips, but they're now reintroducing a digital version called the digital arrival card. You now have to submit your travel details online within 72 hours before your flight lands in Thailand. That includes your passport info, flight number, and the address of where you're staying. Frustratingly, you can't do this any earlier than 72 hours before landing, so don't leave it till you're half asleep in the airport hunting for Wi-Fi. Set a reminder on your phone a few days before you fly. I landed at Suvarnabhumi Airport recently, and I saw people who had already waited an hour in the immigration queue get sent away to go fill this out. That could easily add on another hour of wait time. Once you're done, you'll get a QR code to show immigration, and you can breeze right through. But as a tourist, how long can you stay in Thailand? Well, as of right now, travelers from most visa-exempt countries can stay up to 60 days visa-free. But don't get too comfortable. Thailand has already announced plans that they're planning to cut this back to 30 days again. They haven't announced a date for this yet, and honestly, the tourism department tend to have a bit of a habit of going back on big decisions, so this is one to keep an eye on in 2026, as they could scale this back at any time. But if you're looking to stay even longer term, you can apply for the Destination Thailand Visa, also known as the DTV. This is basically a digital nomad visa, and it lets remote workers, freelancers, and even people who are here to train things like Muay Thai or do cooking courses stay up to 180 days per entry, with multiple entries allowed over a 5-year period. This was introduced in 2024, so it's not a new visa, but through 2025, we've had our first year to see what it really looks like in action. While in many ways this is the perfect visa for long-term travelers, there has been a few bumps along the road. Applying for this visa can be a little tricky, especially if you need to apply from a nearby Southeast Asian country, because the rules of application have been inconsistent depending on which country you're applying in. A lot of people have seen embassy delays and long wait times as they apply in the neighboring country, and in some cases, once it has been approved, some people have had their Thai bank accounts frozen for suspected misuse. So you want to be really careful about not breaking any of the rules here. Hopefully these things get worked out over the next year, but for now, at least be aware that the application process might not go as smoothly as you hoped. I'll be applying for the DTV next week in Vietnam, so perhaps I'll make a video letting you know how it goes. So when should you visit Thailand in 2026? Well, that depends on what kind of trip you're after. In this section, I'm going to break down when to visit for the best weather and the best prices, Thailand's unique festivals that you really don't want to miss, and as well as the times of year that you should actually avoid coming here. When you picture Thailand, you're probably thinking of crystal clear water, blue skies, and tropical sunsets, right? Well, to get that weather, you'll want to come during the dry season. This is the sweet spot between warm, sunny, and the humidity isn't going to leave you drenched from sweat. For most of the country, the dry season runs from October to February. That's when you'll get the clearest skies and the most comfortable temperature. Perfect for both exploring the beach or the sea. But here's something a lot of people don't realize. The Gulf Islands, like Koh Samui, Koh Phangan, and Koh Tao, have a different weather pattern. Their best weather usually starts a little later, so around January, and in 2025, it actually lasted well into June. So if you're heading to the islands, don't panic if your trip's in spring. The skies should still be on your side. Thailand is a hot country all year round, but in March and April, it takes it to another level, and this is known as the hot season. You can still expect a lot of sun and clear skies, but higher humidity and temperatures. The weather at this time is perfect for the beach, but not as good for jungle trekking or walking around the streets of Bangkok, especially if you don't want to be drenched in sweat the whole time. So is there ever a time you should avoid coming to Thailand? Well, maybe. From May to October, it's what's known as the rainy season, and this is when the weather gets the least predictable. One day you'll have beautiful sunshine, the next you might get caught in a tropical downpour. But here's the thing most people don't realize. It doesn't actually rain all day. Most of the time it just pours for an hour or two, usually in the late afternoon, and then it's back to normal, pretty much like nothing happened. This year, to be honest with you, in Bangkok, it only really rained maybe 2 or 3 times a week. I really thought this was one of the least rainy seasons that I've ever experienced in Thailand. And honestly, I still think it's a great time to visit, especially if you're tied to school holidays or summer break. And here's a few reasons why it might actually be better than some of the times, even though it doesn't have the best weather. First, there are way fewer tourists around, so you can explore some of Thailand's most beautiful spots without huge crowds. Think temples, islands, and even Bangkok is all just a bit more relaxed. And secondly, and this is a big one, hotel prices drop massively during rainy season, especially in September when some of Thailand's top luxury hotels are going for a fraction of their usual price. If you've ever wanted to stay somewhere really special without blowing your budget, September is the time to do it. So while rainy season has its challenges, it could still be an awesome trip. On the flip side, when is the most expensive time of year? The most expensive time of year to visit Thailand by a mile is around Christmas and New Year. This is when most of the Western world has their Christmas break and everyone's trying to escape the cold, and Thailand's weather is at its absolute best. So that combo makes it the busiest and priciest time of the year to visit. If you plan a trip during Christmas, here's my advice. Book your hotels early, like way earlier than you think. I've been helping people plan their Christmas 2025 trips all year long, and while to a certain extent the high prices are baked into costs early on, they do rise significantly throughout the year. After August, I found it more and more difficult to find suitable accommodations at good prices, especially the 2 weeks around Christmas and New Year. Even worse is on the islands like Phuket, Khao Sok, Krabi, Koh Lan, and Koh Samui. This is where you find it most difficult to find good accommodation. So if you're coming for Christmas 2026, do yourself a favor, lock in your hotels before the mid-year. Otherwise, you'll be choosing between what's left or paying triple for the average hotels at best. There's one more season you might need to know about, and honestly, it might be the riskiest time to visit Thailand. Every year from around late February to April, farmers in the north burn their fields to prepare for the next harvest. The result of this is a thick smoke and haze across places like Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai, and Pai. This time of year is known as the burning season or smoky season, and it can get really bad. A couple of years ago, Chiang Mai actually became the most polluted city in the world for a few days, and it made headlines around the globe, and not in a good way. Since then, partially because of the bad press, the government has introduced new rules to try and control the burning. And in 2025, things were definitely better, but it's still hit or miss, and it might be something you want to think about when visiting around March or April. But one more thing to consider are the epic festivals in Thailand that take place nowhere else in the world. Visiting the country during one of these events would make for a truly spectacular trip. Early in the year, one of the world's biggest celebrations kicks off, Chinese New Year on February 17th. And while Thailand isn't China, the country's massive Thai Chinese population throws a hell of a party, especially around Yao Rat Road and Phuket Old Town. Expect firecrackers, lion dances, and amazing street food. April is one of the hottest months of the year in Thailand, but luckily the country cools off with the world's biggest water fight during Songkran Festival, happening between April 13th and 15th in 2026. This is Thailand's traditional New Year, but it becomes a full-on national party, and during these days the streets fill with people throwing buckets of water and firing super soakers. Finally, in late November, Thailand hosts one of the most beautiful festivals in the world, Loi Krathong, on November 23rd, when locals release candlelit floats into the rivers and lakes. And if you're in Chiang Mai, you'll also get to witness Yipeng on November 24th to 25th, where thousands of glowing lanterns drift into the night sky. Planning your trip around one of these events would be an amazing experience. So what will a Thailand trip actually cost you in 2026? Well, we've helped over 100 people plan their Thailand trips over the past year, so I've got a pretty good sense of what most travelers are spending. The cost really depends on when you come and how you like to travel. I've already mentioned the prices around Christmas skyrocket, but another big factor is where you're flying in from. International flights are usually the single biggest upfront cost. My company specializes in putting together seamless Thailand trips with all flights and transfers taken care of, unique experiences that will allow you to experience the best of Thailand without massive crowds, and finding some of the most beautiful hotel stays in the country. And we found that once you've accounted for high quality hotels, domestic flights that include checked luggage, private transfers or airport pickups so you're not scrambling for a taxi after a long flight, private guided experience so you don't have to share it with big groups, and some special experiences like fine dining, luxury boat trips, or unique activities, the total cost for 2 people usually falls between $4,000 and $6,000 US. And I'll put the rough equivalents and other currencies up on the screen now. That generally covers just about everything except your international flights and daily food and drink. If you're aiming for true luxury, staying in 5-star hotels the whole way through your trip, that can push it into the $6,000 to $10,000 range. But this can go even higher with room upgrades or if you're traveling over Christmas. You can find out more info about what our trips look like with a cost breakdown in the downloadable itinerary below. On the flip side, if you're happy with more basic hotels and group tours or just spending time on the beach relaxing, you can get by on around $2,000 US for 2 weeks for a couple. Of course, you can always find people who say they've done Thailand for less, and yes, you can. but that usually means cutting back on some comfort or missing out on some experiences. And honestly, they're probably just not tracking everything like I am, so they might just underestimate how much they're actually spending. During 2025, there were a few political events and legal changes in Thailand that travelers should definitely be aware of before planning a trip. The biggest headline has been the flare-up along the Thailand-Cambodia border. What started as a long-running disagreement over old maps and disputed temples escalated into a short but serious military conflict. Sadly, more than 30 people lost their lives and over 100,000 people were temporarily displaced. Now, the good news is that a ceasefire is in place and the fighting is not expected to resume. Even if the tensions rose again, the clashes between them are contained to the northeastern border region, which is far away from Thailand's main tourist spots. That being said, I'm recommending avoiding the land crossing between Thailand and Cambodia for now. If you're planning to continue your trip into Cambodia, it's safer and simpler to just fly instead of crossing by road. You don't really want to be in the area where the fighting broke out. Another change that came out of the conflict is around drones. Thailand temporarily suspended drone flights during the fighting, and while they're allowed again, the rules are now much stricter. You can't fly within 9 kilometers of an airport. Flights are limited to 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and the maximum altitude without special approval is 90 meters. Plus, make sure you register your drone with the Thai Aviation Authority before you arrive. So if, like me, you're planning to capture Thailand from above, just make sure your paperwork's sorted first. Back in 2022, Thailand became the first country in Asia to fully legalize cannabis. But is the green revolution over already? As of June 23rd, 2025, the laws have tightened again. Cannabis is now classified as a controlled substance. That means you need a valid medical prescription from an approved doctor to legally buy or use it. Licensed dispensaries are only supposed to sell to patients with the right paperwork. Looking around on the ground though, walking along Sukhumvit in Bangkok, I honestly haven't noticed a huge change. Shops are still open and some even advertise that they have doctors on site to issue prescriptions. But the key thing for tourists is this: if you're caught smoking in public without paperwork, you could face fines or legal trouble. So just be aware, it's not the free-for-all it was a year ago. And Thailand is a pretty weird place. And even though cannabis may be semi-legal, smoking vapes, even if they're just nicotine, are not. If you call it smoking a vape in Thailand, it can actually land you in some pretty hefty trouble, and there have been arrests and hefty fines for those caught doing it. I've even heard stories of people being stopped and searched looking for vapes, so better not risk it. Thailand is leveling up its tourism game in 2026 with some exciting new experiences coming to the country. Over the last few years, Thailand has become a magnet for big budget films and TV shows, but 2025 saw one of the biggest yet: Jurassic World. The latest installment of the Jurassic Park franchise was filmed primarily in Krabi and Phang Nga, and honestly, it makes perfect sense because those towering limestone cliffs, lush jungles, and dramatic coastlines already look like something out of another world. Since the film's release, a wave of Jurassic-themed experiences have popped up. In Bangkok, the Jurassic World experience recently opened up at Asiatique, which is one of Bangkok's best night markets, and this really brings the franchise to life in the big city. And down south, you can actually explore the real filming locations, from mangrove forests to hidden jungle trails and dramatic mountain backdrops, and it's become an exciting way to explore the region, taking it to some more off-the-beaten-path places. But one of the most exciting new travel experiences in Thailand is the launch of the Blue Jasmine luxury train. Originally a 1950s Japanese sleeper train, it's been fully restored into a moving boutique hotel, and this will be one of the classiest ways to explore Thailand. The Blue Jasmine takes you on a 9-day journey across 5 cities, starting in Bangkok and traveling through Ayutthaya, Uthai Thani, Sukhothai, and finally Chiang Mai. It takes its first journey in November 2025 and will take 6 more journeys in 2026. But it's not just about trains though. Thailand is also attracting world-class events. One of the biggest announcements is that legendary Tomorrowland Festival is relocating to Thailand in 2026. All of these upgrades though are part of Thailand's new value over volume tourism strategy. Instead of chasing record numbers of visitors, the government is shifting focus to quality over quantity. And honestly, I think it's a smart move. In the past, Thailand has had a bit of a reputation for overcrowded beaches and chaotic tourism hotspots, but now the crowd is shifting to other parts of Southeast Asia, and it's given Thailand's best places a bit of a chance to breathe. So if you plan a trip for 2026, you might actually get to experience Thailand at its absolute best. But knowing all of these changes could be for nothing though, if you don't know what to do once you get here. Watch this video next to find out the ultimate 2-week Thailand itinerary with exactly where to go and what to do when you're here.